Welcome back to another Website Depot podcast. As ever, I'm your host, Greg Benevent, and today we're joined once again by Veronica from Scope Environmental Services. How are you doing there, Veronica?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's a pleasure to be able to reach your listeners, provide them with some good information, and hopefully answer some questions.
Absolutely. Well, the one thing that I personally and a lot of the folks I've been talking to in my life been wondering about in this exact moment are the fires. Unfortunately, as of, right now, there's just forest fires really all up and down the West Coast. And it's not just a thing that is happening on the news. It's something that we're seeing, we're hearing, we're feeling. You step outside, you breathe in the smoke and all that. I mean, we were just talking before the thing. I personally live in around the Burbank area, and I look out my window right now and I can't see the Burbank Mountains, which are frankly not all that far away. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you would certainly know a lot more than me, Veronica, if you could tell us a little bit about just what's going on and the real full spectrum of what's occurring.
Yeah, definitely. So the Bobcat, there's a number of very, very dangerous fires up and down the West Coast, just like you mentioned. One of them is quite close to us here in LA and the Valley and the Sierra Madre mountains is the Bobcat fire, and it was kind of more into the hills, into the forest, but now it's actually moving down into Sierra Madre, and that's why you in Burbank is noticing all the smoke and all the the poor air quality and the poor visual quality and everything. I mean, I'm all the way down in Chatsworth, but because of the winds happening up and along the 118 freeway, we step outside here and it smells like smoke now. The skies are awful. The whole thing is just terrible. I mean, people closer to the fire are, I'm sure, having a really tough time breathing. And, what if there's simple things like people say just stay inside, close your windows. But what if you've got to go out and walk your dog?
Right.
Just
right.
simple things like that. The dog won't stay inside. You can't make the dog pee inside. I mean, nobody wants that to happen. But it's one of those things where there's certain things you still have to get out and do outside, and it is quite dangerous for sure.
No, I mean, I was just thinking, a friend of mine, she went on trip vacation for about a week. She left her windows just slightly ajar to help her plants. She comes back and her landlord says, "Hey, we had to clean the soot out of your apartment." And she had it just barely
Wow.
opened so it's one of those things that, the damage from it really can't kind of be overstated, even if, something just like that. Like I said, my friend, I mean, she showed me a picture. She left it open, barely as much. And I guess,
Yeah.
and that in and of itself kind of leads me to where I was going with this. And one of the, maybe the major reason that I'm so glad to have you folks here today is that I know that a big part of what you do is cleaning up from fire damage. And, I
We
mean,
most certainly do. We most certainly do. And
Mhm.
a lot of people wonder about, what happens when your property sustains fire damage.
Mhm.
Those things it's very important to know what to do. First of all, people are usually evacuated and they're worried sick wherever they are as to whether their property survived or didn't, whether it got touched by the fires or didn't. And once they get back, they start kind of pouring through the rubble of it, trying to see what's left. And hopefully the property is still there, maybe a little char here and there, but hopefully the property is still there. One of the claims we're working on right now is up in Lancaster area, a little bit further up north than that. And there was a fire up there back in August, and these people lost everything.
Oh, geez.
So we're up there now. We got a call from the insurance company. They obviously filed a claim.
Mhm.
And we went up there and there isn't anything there. There's like barely a footprint of the house
Oh, man.
left. So for the sketches for the insurance company, in order to pay out, you have to produce a sketch. Well, we have to sit down with the homeowners and ask them, where was the bathroom? Where was the bedroom?
Mm.
Where was the kitchen? You have to ask them all these questions, and it's quite painful for people to go through all of that and remember and hold their composure long enough to be able to go through this exercise, and it really is a very devastating and painful exercise to go through. One of the things that most people don't think about is that there is secondary damage as well. There's soot
Mm.
and ash damage, kind of like what you were mentioning with your friend.
Yeah.
So if there are fires in the vicinity of where you live, even miles away, like we're right now in Chatsworth, and we're
Hmm.
smelling, the smoke all the way from Sierra Madre.
Hmm.
And what needs to be discussed about that is that soot and ash from these wildfires is very dangerous. It's very
Mm.
hazardous. It's
Okay.
not just pretty little trees and grasses going up in smoke. It's fires with buildings and drywall, insulation, flooring,
Mm.
metals,
Oh, jeez.
roofing materials, electrical, all kinds of stuff like that. It's all going up in smoke. And so when those things melt, I mean, you know what it smells like when plastic melts. It
Oh.
basically, it's a very carcinogenic smell, and it's a very carcinogenic effect. The soot is from wildfires is actually 0.03 microns and
Okay.
can travel for miles and miles around, landing on your roof. With the wind, it goes even further than that. It lands on your roof, it lands in your attic, in your insulation, on your walls, in your pool,
Oh
in
man.
your house,
Hmm.
everywhere. It just goes everywhere. And what a lot of people don't know is those are in fact covered insurance claims as well. So your
Mm.
property didn't necessarily have to get charred by actual smoke in order for you to be able to file a claim to do such cleanup as what your friend experienced while she was out of town, and they had to do a full soot cleanup of her
Mm.
apartment.
Mm.
So the soot that lands inside the property can be cleaned,
Okay.
there's deodorizing machines, there are negative air machines that are set up to filter the air, and
Hmm.
there's like ozone type machines that are set up to remove the odor. Insulation should be replaced because a lot of that gets lodged and trapped in there. The walls should be cleaned. Pools, the acidity of all of it, kind of, if you don't clean it out of the pool, it starts ruining the walls of the pool, not just
Oh
staining, but
man.
physically like eating through all of the plaster and everything that's in there. So it's very, very important to clean that up. For the dangerous effects of it, for not cleaning it up, I mean, your pets,
Hmm.
people think of like breathing problems and headaches and things like that. Those
Hmm.
could be kind of obvious. You smell smoke, you feel terrible
Oh yeah,
afterwards.
I have asthma and it's been a mess. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
but what people don't think about is, let's say their pets, right? Their
Hmm.
pets, their elderly people, their children, all of these
Oh.
things get lodged everywhere. And so then you end
Mm.
up taking your pet to the vet all the time because they're scratching their paws off or whatever, and those vet bills go up as well. I mean,
Mm.
we all, especially during the pandemic, a lot of people got cute little puppies. I know I did for my kids. They had to have some kind of happiness through this whole thing.
Hmm.
Those cute little puppies, they can get allergies. You take them out for
Mm.
walks, there's soot and ash on the grasses, that they're walking around putting their cute little noses into. All of
Mm.
those things are affected by these wildfires. So that's definitely something that people can and should consider when their property isn't even necessarily burned to the ground, just smoke and ash and soot everywhere pretty much.
Wow.
The next thing I wanted to talk about is what
Please.
happens when you file a claim with your insurance company
Yeah.
for one of these things, because I've mentioned that these are covered losses by the
Mhm.
insurance company.
Good.
And so what happens when you file a claim with your insurance company? They'll
Mhm.
usually, when you file a claim, they'll ask you, how far away from a fire you were and what's affected in your home.
Mhm.
And what we do is we go in and we perform a smoke and soot assessment of the
Mm.
property. We
Okay.
use specialized chem sponges. Jean is waving at me from the other side and making hand signs.
Okay. That's all right.
That's why I keep getting distracted and looking somewhere into the far because
No, no,
you
no, no, no. That's fine. I mean, it's like he's
know.
contributing and he's not on screen. That's quite all right. Yeah. All right, Don.
We use these specialized chem sponges that
Hmm.
when you wipe a wall, either interior or exterior, the soot and ash produces a specific chemical signature that can be shown as support for the insurance company that your house did in
Oh,
fact have soot in it.
right.
We
Okay.
take all the photos of the, ash covered insulation and
Hmm.
showing signs of ash on your roof and pictures of ash in your pool and your carpets inside your house, and like I said, the walls with the chem sponges.
Hmm.
And then we move forward. We send all of that to the adjuster, and
Mm.
then we obtain approval, and we move forward with the actual cleanup
Mm.
process of everything. There's the structural cleaning, and then there's also a contents cleaning. Contents is everything inside your home, from your
Okay.
appliances to your furniture to your clothes to your kids' toys, whatever is inside the home.
Hmm.
And all of those things need to get cleaned up and need to be cleaned up properly so that that soot is no longer harmful to anybody. So
Gotcha.
there is a process that during the cleaning process, during the wipe down, the proper wipe down of all of those surfaces, we
Hmm.
install what are called negative air machines. And they're
Mm.
basically like big, large industrial
Okay.
air purifiers that as we disturb the soot or ash that's on the surfaces, it filters through these machines to clear out the air so that we're not,
Mm.
picking it up here and it landing over there somewhere. That's what you don't
Gotcha.
want to happen.
Certainly.
Yeah, the attic insulation gets replaced, and during that part of the process as well, the attic gets fully wiped down, and one of those machines, the negative air machines, also sits inside the attic to make sure that it catches any of the soot and dust particles to make sure that everything is clean for you. The ducts in your home also need to be cleaned because
Mm.
through the vents of everything, all of the
Mm.
soot and ash that gets trapped in there. Then you
Mhm.
turn on your AC the next summer, and then you smell all of that because it's now
Oh.
been sitting and getting all gross inside of there. So
Hmm.
all of those things get done. The contents, like I said, get cleaned, and the exterior gets cleaned. Basically, the entire envelope of the house gets cleaned. The driveways, the
Mm.
sidewalks, everything
Oh,
gets
good.
scrubbed down to make sure that it's, safe, because you're going to be walking on that sidewalk with your pets, and kids are going to be riding bikes and what have
Hmm.
you. It looks like it's pretty harmless, but believe me, it's not
Oh,
at
man.
all harmless. So it is quite an intense process, and it's definitely something that people should do
Hmm.
for, to protect the health of themselves and their loved ones, their pets, and all that good stuff.
Certainly. I mean, one thing that was great. I mean, one thing that stood out to me in what you just said, Veronica, was, coming at this from the perspective of a layperson, is how much a company like yours is, for lack of a better phrase, on the side of the homeowner, and like you're doing everything you can to show the insurance company, like, hey, this is legit. You're helping the homeowner. You're helping that. You're giving the evidence that come
Absolutely.
through the chem sponge and all of that. So, like, what are, just to help the people listening, what are some questions that someone who, hey, maybe has a good bit of this soot damage, that they should ask their insurance broker?
So prior to the fire seasons, which are now quite extreme and every
Mm.
year and all of that, people really should consider speaking to their insurance brokers, especially if they haven't been yet affected. I mean,
Mm.
nobody is really immune to this. These things
Right.
start everywhere. They start in parks, they start in woodsy areas, they start everywhere. Like that one you heard about where the people were in a park and having a gender reveal party,
Right.
which is now causing a massive thing. I mean, there's
Hmm.
there's residences around there, and so
Oh,
nobody's
jeez.
really immune to this anymore in California and all along the West Coast. And so one of the things that people should do is make sure that they itemize everything that's in their home that's of
Oh.
value to them. So, and take photos of it, because once a disaster strikes, you're not going to be able to grab everything, and
Mm.
anything and everything that does get damaged, if your home or business does sustain the actual fire damage, there's, an actual fire and things burn down, trying to remember what all of that is after you're already devastated by the emergency and the
Mm.
the horrific ordeal of it all is very difficult. So making
Yeah.
sure that you've itemized everything, that you've taken pictures, and you put them on Google Drive somewhere, you know,
Mm.
you store them away, and God forbid you ever need them, they're there for you. It's kind of like I always tell people for all of their property emergencies, God forbid you ever need me, you know who to call. I hope they never do, but you know, here we are.
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah.
and what they should speak about with their insurance broker is their coverage for fire and smoke damage.
Mm.
So, how much structural coverage do they have? That means coverage to replace anything that does get burned or to
Mhm.
clean anything that has to do with their structure. How
Mm.
much contents coverage do they have? Because some of those contents, some of that furniture, those toys, that jewelry, the bedding, all of that, your plates, I mean, everything that's inside your home, some of those things can be cleaned. They're not all going to be just trash and forget the whole thing.
Right.
But
Yeah.
somebody like us does need to go in there and clean everything professionally. All of
Mm.
that costs money. So it's important to know what your coverage is. I had a friend, he had a fire in his house. He had about $25,000 in contents coverage. He thought that was enough. Trust me, it wasn't. The
Oh,
storage of
jeez.
everything, the cleaning of everything, the replacement of all the items that need to be replaced, that's nowhere near enough. People look around their house and they don't really consider just how much stuff they have and they've accumulated over the years. And so all of those things are well worth talking about with your insurance broker, both for people that own properties and
Mhm.
renters alike, because renters have contents coverage as well. Sometimes people
Mm.
are, oh, I'm a renter, I'll just buy the cheapest policy there is and make sure my landlord doesn't say anything to me. And every year that your insurance broker calls you and tells you it's time to, you know, reassess your policy, make sure you're still covered, make sure if you bought any specific furniture or art or anything else like that, that we have it covered. A lot of people think that the insurance agent or broker is just trying to, you know, up the policy to make more money. I don't know if they really make that much more money off of it, but trust me, like I said, if you are in a disastrous situation, you're going to be happy you had it. And if you're
Mm.
not, then so be it. But at least you're covered. You know, that's the whole point of having insurance. Additionally to that, you should always know with your family, like, where are you going to go? Who are you going
Mm.
to go stay with if you are having to evacuate? Make sure you have your emergency packs done. Make sure you have a change of clothes, because when you have to evacuate, you don't know. Even if you end up going to stay at a hotel in a different part of town, you
Mhm.
need some clothes, you need some shoes, you need stuff for your kids, your medication, your pets, their food, all of that. So just like if it was an earthquake or anything else that we try to get prepared for, we should be equally as concerned being prepared for a fire.
Certainly. I mean, that, yeah, no, that's so great. I mean, I was just struck by, as you said, these things are the very literal definition of a disaster. And so many of your keys that just, just to clarify, there's no real way to be 100% prepared for this fire smoke season, obviously, but just to hone in on, have a plan, have some things laid out, have discussed this with your insurance agent. I mean, is there anything else that anyone can better keep themselves, prepare for this as best you can? Because like you said, it's always going to be more or less up to chance, and the best you can do is to prepare somewhat.
Yeah, you can have some things ready and make sure that, some of those people up in Oregon and Washington, and even here in California, they were given literally a few minutes to run out of
Oh,
their house. They
jeez.
weren't given very much notice. It's not like they saw the fire coming somewhere over there. We'll probably have a few hours to pack the car and grab the photos or whatever. No, they had
Oh,
literally a
man.
few minutes and they've got to run. So,
Mhm.
even something simple like taking your photos and scanning them and
Mhm.
making sure that you have them on a drive somewhere, it's not the same as having the real thing, the black and white photos of the grandparents or what have you.
Mhm.
But it is important to prepare over the course of the year, because these things unfortunately are happening more and more, and they're more severe every year, and they're more devastating, and it's just very important to be prepared.
Absolutely. No, that all makes so much sense. I mean, I guess, you might have covered some of this before, but I was just sort of thinking here. So like, okay, so let's say, the person, family, they saved as much of the stuff as they could. They evacuated, they come back to the house, and they got the smoke, they got the fire issues, and they're like, okay, we're gonna call scope to come in and look at this. Like, what goes on during that smoke and fire assessment? Like, what happens there?
So we arrive on site, and that first visit is mostly for documentation. We want to
Mm.
make sure that we document as much of the damages as possible,
Hmm.
so that, because once they file a claim, it may take days for the insurance broker, I'm sorry, the insurance adjuster to come out and make his
Oh,
assessments, because everybody in their neighborhood, everybody in the area is filing these
right.
claims. So
Hmm.
it's very important to come out and get everything documented, take photos of everything, take as
Hmm.
much inventory as possible. There was 4 chairs at this table, there was 3 sofas here, there was 3 beds upstairs, whatever the case
Specificity.
may be.
Hmm.
Yeah. And the if the fire if the structure was not destroyed by the fire, then definitely doing the chem sponge test in multiple rooms and for the exterior is also very important, to make sure that you have the support for why you filed the claim, and making sure that the insurance company pays it out in such a way to restore all of your property, to restore your life back to the way it was, just like before.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. The focus being on that idea, like to restore this as much as possible to the way it was. Well, yeah, that covers all the questions I had for you, Veronica. I mean, you laid out what someone can do to be as prepared as possible, and then should the worst happen, how you can take those next steps to try and get your life and your home and everything else back to where they were. Is there anything else that you'd like to touch on to let people know about this time and what they can do, or anything else?
I think that's pretty much it. I think it's just important to do everything in a timely manner,
Mm.
to file the claim, to call a restoration company like us as soon
Hmm.
as possible, just to do everything in a timely manner. The insurance does allow for a period of time before, that you have, there's like a statute of time that you have before you can't file the claim anymore. And in some
Oh, geez.
cases, it's like up to 2 years.
Hmm.
However, the more time that elapses from the time you were affected by the fire to the time that you file the claim, the more difficult the argument becomes.
Oh, I
Without the
bet.
proper support that occurs during the initial initial visit of the, right now, what happened, without that very support, it's very difficult to prove to the insurance company that you were in fact affected by the fire, especially because
Mm.
some people will get into their homes and they'll start cleaning everything themselves. And
Oh, geez.
rightfully so. I mean, who
Hmm.
everybody really wants to get back into their house, everybody wants to get it cleaned up, and they want to go back to normal.
Hmm.
However, without the support of the fact that it was, soot and ash and dirty before, it's very difficult to prove that to the insurance company. Then you have to start
Right.
climbing on ceilings and into, recessed can lights in order to
Oh, man.
find that support that
Oh,
couldn't see before. So
yeah.
it's one of those things where it's just important, like with everything else, like with a car accident, I always compare the properties. A lot of people have been in car accidents or been involved in car accidents, and they
Hmm.
know that you call the police right away, you call your
Yeah.
insurance right away, you call a tow truck, and then you go and you're upset about it after that. You know what I mean? There's these steps you have to take. It's the
Hmm.
same for a property claim. You have to make
Gotcha.
sure that you call your insurance company, you file a claim, you call a restoration company, they come in, they do all of the documentation, and then we can start with, talking to the insurance company, figuring out where you're going to live. Can you stay in the property? Can you not stay in the property? That's the other thing, actually. One more thing that I
Mm.
did forget
Please, of course.
is there's another portion of your insurance policy called additional living expenses, ALE.
Mm.
And
Okay.
this portion of the policy covers your expenses in the event that you can't stay in your home, both for
Oh.
fire, for water, for mold, for any property disaster. For any reason there is a property disaster, property emergency, and you can't stay
Okay.
in your home. making sure that that portion of the policy covers you for the amount that you'll need is very important, because these claims can go on for months. I've
Mm.
seen them go on for 2-3 months. I've seen them go on for a year. And
Mm.
meanwhile, people can't move back into their home. And so having enough coverage to where you can rent a home, because the insurance company will often try and put you up in a hotel. And
Nah.
a hotel is kind of like a vacation. It's fun for 3 to 5 days maybe, but then
Mhm.
takeout and everything else gets really old really fast.
Yes.
And especially if you've got kids, you've got pets, trying to figure all that out is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
What you want to be able to do is rent a fully furnished property that is
Mm.
somewhere in the vicinity of where you used to live, so that
Mm.
your commute to work or otherwise doesn't really change all that much.
Makes
And
sense.
knowing that you have enough coverage in that additional living expense portion of your policy to cover that is very important. So discussing that with your insurance agent or your insurance broker is also very important. Make sure, and we do help out with that. We
Oh,
do,
good. That was
we
going to be my
do,
next question. Yeah.
yeah, we do help homeowners that do have to be relocated
Great.
to to find them a home in the vicinity of their current property, again, so that their commute doesn't change, and their schools, and I mean, nobody's in school right now, but eventually we'll all be back in school and work and
Certainly.
stuff.
Mhm.
Making sure that if they live in a 3-bedroom house now, that they have enough coverage for a 3-bedroom house later, because each of their kids does need a bedroom, you know what I mean? A
Right.
yard, whatever it is they had. It's important that they take all of that into consideration.
Certainly. Well, that has been tremendously helpful, Veronica. Thank you. I mean, that is, again, hopefully you never need anything discussed in this podcast. Hopefully this is just something you listen to wherever you are and you can dismiss it out of hand. But for those of you that do need it, Scope Environmental will be right there for you. You guys, I know they can reach you at any time. Wherever you've seen this video, I'm sure Scope's contact information is going to be on that. But Veronica, if you want to tell them where they can reach you and how, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So you can reach us at 888-504-5525. You can go online. We're at scopeclean.com. And you can always check out our Yelp reviews. We're very proud of those, and we work very hard to earn them. You can always see what other people have had as far as experience in working with us. And our goal is just to make sure that we restore your property and everything is just like before. No matter what happens, no matter what type of disaster your property sustains, like you said, hopefully never. And in the event it does, we'll bring it back just like before.
All right. Well,
We'll get it all taken care of for you.
I think that's a wonderful sentiment. And I think that's a great thing for this to end on. So thank you so much for coming out to
Thank
tell us about that
you.
for today, Veronica. That's going to be really helpful for some folks. So
Thank you so
on
much
that note,
for having me.
I'm Greg Benevent on behalf of Website Depot. Stay safe out there. Take it easy and have a good night.
Hi you guys, my name is Savak. I'm here with Scope Environmental. We pretty much handle all types of environmental cleanups itself, from anything from water damage to fire damage to smoke cleanups. And now we're doing all these COVID-19 cleanups. Currently we are here at Signal Hill. We're actually working on this commercial building. We're doing a full disinfection of the entire building itself, anything inside, desks, chairs, anything that hard surfaces itself, anything that we think people might have touched, including toilets and kitchens. So I'm here with the team itself. We do have our equipment set up. The air scrubbers are set up as far as today. They're all HEPA filtered. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get suited up so we can get the day started.